group
Can I
meetings.
interrupt you? What
The
made you
feedback I
believe?
got,
What made you believe that that was an okay resolution? That's what I'm looking for. Like, what goes into that decision?
yes,
Yes, ma'am.
are independent environmental experts. So,
So
as we have, as I have
100,000
engagement,
gallons of, when you dump 100,000 gallons of chemicals and
Oil.
and oil,
You're not talking about the oil.
60,000 gallons of oil, when you dump that into the ground and you don't take that out of the ground before you put your tracks on and you run your train on it,
You need to hire some new.
that's an okay
experts.
decision.
Oh man, he's getting grilled. I thought this was gonna be a bit of a slower start. It's a wonderful day in the homie hood, a wonderful day for a homie. Won't you be my homie to Taro? One of my most popular videos on the YouTube channel has been the coverage of the Ohio train derailment in East Palestine. We even had people commenting on the video that they're from Ohio or from East Palestine. So super happy that we were able to cover some news that maybe mainstream media was not picking up on at the time. It seems that since then, of course, there have been a lot of updates, and mainstream media has been able to pick up on it, including a panel discussion on CNN, where residents of East Palestine were able to confront the CEO of Norfolk Southern, which is the company who was responsible for the train derailment. Now, my personal opinion is that this is something that is basically everybody's fault, and it's the Obama era's fault, it's the Trump era's fault, it's Joe Biden's fault, it's Pete Buttigieg's fault, it's Norfolk Southern's fault. It's basically everybody's fault except for the people of East Palestine and the people who are in the area of the Ohio River and all the people who are going to be affected by this. So the real question to me is, like, how are the powers that be going to make it right? Now, you may have also heard that Trump has visited East Palestine, and now Pete Buttigieg has visited East Palestine, and basically everyone is kind of doing their own version of damage control. However, unfortunately, I think Trump is winning the optics game, and Pete Buttigieg maybe not so much, and Norfolk Southern also maybe not so much. However, if you are a fan of this channel, then you might know that I probably am not on the side of people like Donald Trump, and to be honest, not really on the side of people like Pete Buttigieg either. And I'm very anti-corporation. I think all of these parties need to be held responsible. So, being a Canadian channel covering this topic, I wanted to jump into the news here from the Canadian perspective. And this headline is saying that a toxic train derailment is highly unlikely to impact Ontario, which obviously is very close to Ohio. We share a border with that state. So the disaster occurred on February 3rd, as we know, in the small town of East Palestine, about 100 kilometers away south of Lake Erie. The train derailment in Ohio that caused a major explosion and release of toxic chemicals into the atmosphere is highly unlikely to have impacted southern Ontario, says the Canadian government. I mean, we hope so, but as has been the case so far, the pattern has been to tell people that there's nothing to be worried about and to push the concerns away. So how much can we really trust this? I don't know, and I would rather to err on the side of caution than to just say, don't worry, folks, everything's going to be okay. The town of 5,000 people had to evacuate or risk breathing in the plume's toxic phosgene, which causes vomiting and respiratory problems. So we're going to hear later on from the residents of East Palestine as well. Residents have returned, but some remain skeptical of reassurances from officials that the air and water are safe. A nearby creek continues to reek of chemicals, and only one federal official has visited the site, reported the Associated Press on Friday. So this is the older article coming from February 17th, and it's the 24th here in Canada. So obviously this article is a little old. But we are gonna catch up as we progress through these open tabs here. I have the Biden administration has defended its response, saying it has mobilized a robust multi-agency effort to support the people of East Palestine, Ohio. Environment and Climate Change Canada said typically chemicals involved in controlled releases are in the atmosphere less than 24 hours. Okay, so if you were witnessing the controlled release, they were just burning it into the sky, into the atmosphere. They're saying it lasts less than 24 hours, but I think there's still a lot of concerns about the drinking water and the soil. Hopefully we'll learn more about that. And the winds blowing in the opposite direction of southern Ontario and the Great Lakes, it would have been highly unlikely that the region would have seen any effect. Okay, highly unlikely, but not completely unlikely. The Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, which oversees conservation areas in the Niagara region, including along the Lake Erie shoreline, and the advocacy group Environmental Defense, both said they're looking to Canadian officials for guidance. We have been monitoring the situation and are not aware of any evidence that this poses a great threat to the Great Lakes Basin or Ontario, said Michelle Woodhouse, Water Program Manager with Environmental Defense. So as you can see in the map here, here's East Palestine, where the derailment was. It's pretty close to Pittsburgh and Cleveland. And then here we have like the Canadian American border is this gray line, and Toronto way up here. So I mean, I guess that is good news for us here in Canada, but I mean, obviously the concern is the people who are closer to this derailment. So last time when we were covering this, we watched a video from this channel, More Perfect Union, who I think has done a really great job covering the story from the perspective of workers, and they've made a new video since. So let's tune in and watch that.
So I went up to East Palestine. I caught up with our congressman. I grew up in that county and I live in the district now. He was at the town hall about the Norfolk Southern disaster. So I asked him some questions, starting with technical stuff and ending with money stuff. Here it is.
I look a lot into precision scheduled railroad, and I wanted to know what you think the Surface Transportation Board should do about precision scheduled railroad.
That's a good question. I'll take your question on board. I do not sit on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, so I'm not familiar.
I mean, he said, what do you think they should do? And I mean, he's like, well, I'm not on the board. It's like, well, we're not asking you to be on the board. We're asking what you think they should do.
Familiar with that area. What they should do is stop things like this from happening. We'll have to wait until the report comes out, and then we can start digging into that.
Okay.
That's what my commitment is.
His commitment is to wait and do nothing.
Do you believe the rail workers should have struck, and did you vote to impose a contract on the rail workers?
That is not related to this crash here tonight. I'm not going to get into those kind of political questions here.
He doesn't want to get into the politics. So this is related to the rail workers strike that was happening in the U.S. It was a very controversial thing, and apparently this is just something I've heard through my partner, but apparently the rail workers are potentially looking to strike again. So I think this is really a point of contention that I think workers need to flex their power on.
This is not about politics. This is about meeting the needs and concerns of the people in East Palestine.
Okay, so he's saying this is not about politics. Everything is about politics. Literally, all that matters is politics. To say that this is not a political issue is to completely misunderstand how these things work.
So let's address those questions another time.
Except it is related. Rail workers have been warning about something like this for a long time. They have been doing more work with less people, dealing with cuts across the board to safety, training, maintenance, staff. Also, the company can pile up a ton of money. And about that company money,
You've taken about $18,000 from Norfolk Southern PAC. Are you going to take money from Norfolk Southern going
Okay,
forward?
we're done. We're done with the conversation. I just told you we're not going to talk politics here tonight. That's not what
Why
this
not?
is about, because we're talking about what's right for the people of East Palestine.
Do you think
So
that's
we're
not a political issue?
Wow. So he took money. How much was it? $18,000 from Norfolk Southern PAC. And all he's asking is like, are you going to continue to take money? So basically, which is a great framing of the question, because it's like, hey, you've already basically proven that you're in bed with this corporation. Are you continue to be in bed? And he couldn't even say no. He couldn't even say, hey, yeah, I probably shouldn't have taken that money. And I'm not going to take it in the future. That's really, really shady.
Political issue.
Of course it's a political issue.
This is what happens when you get a little too close to the truth with these guys. And I don't blame him for being uncomfortable, because right before we talked, he said this to a resident as she was grilling him to a crisp.
They don't own me.
Well,
they don't own me.
Okay, but
I work for you. I don't work for them.
Sure you do. Here's something to think about. Bill Johnson is in a safe seat.
Typical human being making everything political. Yeah, you wouldn't know anything about that, eh? Imperial News. Also, nice to see you.
Because of gerrymandering, where politicians pick their voters by drawing districts their party is all but guaranteed to win, it's essentially impossible for anyone but a Republican to win Bill Johnson's district. So, if you're a big corporate donor, why would you pour money into a race that's already locked up? Since that money isn't needed to compete for votes, the most likely explanation is that it buys influence. Say from a congressman who oversees regulators who oversee your business.
They don't own me.
okay, but
I work for you. I don't work for them.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Sure you do.
We're done. We're done with the conversation. I just told you we're not going to talk politics here tonight.
This is amazing. Honestly, the fact that a TikTok reporter basically can make this level of video, make this level of impact is absolutely fantastic. This person is obviously super corrupt, to the point where, and he's not even good at being corrupt. Like, you could be corrupt and like dance around these questions like a pro, but he's not, obviously not even ready for that. And as this reporter says, this is a red state. This is like a very secure place for Republicans. So really, what they're buying is influence. They're not buying votes. They're buying influence. Speaking of it being a red state, it might even be a red hat state. So here's Donald Trump. As we know, he visited East Palestine, and here's the mayor, I believe, of East Palestine. So it's a little concerning that, to me, that Donald Trump is using this to score political points. For the first time since he announced that he was going to run, I'm getting the feeling like, oh my God, like Trump can maybe win. I forgot how kind of like savvy he is when it comes to working the media. We did see the McDonald's video. We watched it yesterday, but if you have it handy, I swear it's worth watching again, because unfortunately, Donald Trump is funny as hell. I hate that he's funny, but he is. And unfortunately, I think he comes off as like very likable. He comes off as like a commoner, even though he's very much a representative of the billionaire elite and the political elite now. So
Former President Donald Trump
this is from CBS.
visited East Palestine, Ohio, where residents are still struggling from that freight train derailment that spewed toxic chemicals in their community.
We're here today in East Palestine to show our love and support for our fellow Americans in this hour of need, and that's what it is. It was now.
So the mayor, it's very weird to me that the mayor is like standing behind him. It almost seems as if like East Palestine, the political establishment there, has decided that they're on Team Trump, and I mean, they probably are. But at the same time, Trump is somewhat responsible for this accident happening, right?
Hour of need, but they've done some incredible work in a very short period of time.
The former president, who has announced he's running for the White House again in 2024, has been critical of the Biden administration's response to the disaster. Ahead of Mr. Trump's visit, President Biden tweeted, quote, "For years, elected officials, including the last admin, have limited our ability to implement and strengthen rail safety measures."
We know that this community will bounce back.
On Tuesday, the Environmental Protection Agency ordered Norfolk Southern to pay for the cleanup of the train wreck and chemical release. If it fails to comply, the EPA warned it will do the cleanup itself and seek triple damages from the company.
What's going to
Triple damages? I guess that's good, but I mean, it sounds like a lot, but it might not even be a lot, you know?
happen in the water? Everyone's concerned about the environment. This is a man-made type of disaster.
Transportation Secretary
Wow, this young person just killing it.
Pete Buttigieg travels to East Palestine tomorrow to meet with community members. Meanwhile, he's urging lawmakers here on Capitol Hill to take bipartisan action.
One of the reasons that I'm asking Congress for help is that right now there is a cap on the toughest fines that we can impose, about $250,000 per violation.
The Transportation Secretary's visit will come as the National Transportation Safety Board plans to release preliminary findings from its ongoing investigation. Nicole D'Antonio, WSA.
So, I mean, I guess I believe in a bipartisan solution. This is a bipartisan problem. This is the Republicans and the Democrats' fault. This is Obama's fault. This is Trump's fault. This is Pete Buttigieg's fault. It's literally like everybody's fault. So yeah, everybody should be responsible and on board. Okay, so just we're gonna take a brief moment here before we get into Pete Buttigieg's response to look at Trump being at McDonald's.
So I know this menu better than you do, okay? I probably know it better than anybody in here.
Wait, this one doesn't have the funny version of it when he walks up and he's like, "What's your specialty?" Oh man, that unfortunately Trump is funny. So yeah, here's basically Trump posing as a commoner, eating McDonald's, I guess, and also buying McDonald's for the firefighters and the police staff. So it's unfortunate because I feel like he is basically winning this situation here. Imperial News saying you love that he knows the menu better than the workers. Yeah, I mean that's what he's saying. It's that's his way of like appearing as though he's like a common working class person, but we know that he's not. So this is Pete Buttigieg, who again he visited East Palestine to finally make a statement. Honestly, what is really pathetic to me is that it took Donald Trump visiting East Palestine to get Pete Buttigieg to show up. It's like, why? How do you let Trump get ahead of you on this narrative? And it really just goes to show that the Democrats are weak. They really are just like an opposition party, even when they are in power. It's really pathetic.
Just before taking questions, I want to share a few thoughts from my visit. As you know, the initial stages of the response to this incident are giving way to the longer-term investigation and the safety policy work that we do. I'm here to work and was able to spend time with our personnel here at the derailment site, including our FRA, Federal Rail Administration, and PHMSA, the Pipeline and Hazardous Safety Material Administration, who are engaging with NTSB just to be...
Oh, yikes. They must have turned up the mic a moment. Geez. Well, already, like even in like 7 seconds of watching Donald Trump, it's more entertaining than watching this first 32 seconds of watching Pete Buttigieg speak. Like, what the hell is he even talking about? It's like, who is going to run against Trump? Not Pete Buttigieg, I'll tell you that much. And Ron DeSantis, I mean, it already seems like Ron DeSantis is old news, In fairness, they were barely in power, even last term with 50-50 Senate. I mean, but all they have to do is like show up in East Palestine, That has nothing to do with them capturing a media narrative about this, right? But they failed to leverage that appropriately. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, obviously, yeah, it's hard being in this American political climate. It's hard for Democrats. But when Barack Obama had a majority, a super majority, we also know that they did nothing. And now Joe Biden has, a minority. And then it's hard for them to do anything. But what they need to do, it's not even about winning in the Senate or in the House. It's about winning in the media. There's nothing stopping them from winning in the media, right? So like we're gonna see like how weak they really are with Pete Buttigieg, who does want to be president, you know. And
Very clear about
I think after this, like, there's no chance in hell he ever will be.
this. FRA and PHMSA are part of the U.S. Department of Transportation. NTSB is not. They're independent for very good reason. We respect their independence, but we also work with them to make sure that we're responding to their findings and that we're supporting.
A lot of them are centrists. They're all centrists. They're in the media class. Yeah.
Their fact-finding work. I was also able to spend time with a number of federal personnel, including
Jesus, absolutely horrible audio quality.
EPA, FEMA, and others who have been doing phenomenal work from day one in order.
They're like, let's make sure we have like a loud buzzing in the background that will get picked up by all 20 of these mics.
To make sure that this community is supported. That includes, again, not just the presence that our department had from the early hours of this situation, but the presence of public health personnel, environmental personnel, and emergency management.
Okay, I honestly can't watch. It's too boring. So maybe NBC will have a quicker report on it. Why is he dressed like this? Why is he dressed like this? He's like Doug Fording around.
Essentially, the cars, if we get closer down here, we get around the side of this tank car, essentially from that dirt mound that's covered up with the white plastic, from there to about the corner of this building is where the cars, the corner of the building right here with the light on it, that's essentially where the cars are piled up.
So this, like that white coat, for example.
Yeah, helmet mandatory, vest for style points. I guess so. Yeah. I mean, he just like looks like they're probably like in their head. They're like, this is good optics. It's not good optics.
Is that a product of the reaction, or is that?
He should have wore jeans. All he needed to do was wear jeans. The outfit would have looked a lot better.
No, it was polyvinyl chloride, or yeah, PVC powder that was inside the hopper. So as this copper got hot, it actually melted it.
Regardless of what kind of tank the gases are in, if there's even one car on the train that's not at a high standard and it's flammable, the rest is at risk.
Why is he smiling? He's like smiling, like explaining this to the experts. He's basically like dem-splaining to the people who were on the ground and were like know everything about this. RJ Helms here saying he just loves talking about trains. Nothing wrong with that. This is the only reason he's the Minister of Transportation or whatever, because he's like, I just loved trains as a kid, and then he got the job. It's like there's no reason he's not qualified to be doing this job.
Yes, it is. So you can have cascading, failure from one tank to the other. Yeah, exactly. Press it up against the shell.
Is this where it would have been at the time?
No, it's been moved. These were all laying out. These were all laying out on the railroad right of way when they were shot.
You wouldn't be able to. I'm surprised they were able to put it.
This is like just so sad. Like, bro, you're too late. You're too late.
So the lubrication's all inside that.
Yeah, it's closed.
And you said the difference between the temperature on one end and the other is one of the.
Yeah, so if they're measuring both sides of the train as it goes down. So if there's a 115 degree delta between this side and that side, that triggers them to stop and inspect.
So most of the Class 1 carriers do not own fleets of tank cars, and the tank cars that Class 1 carriers do own, they're diesel service for their own operation.
He needs to eat a little vinyl chloride to prove he means business for real.
Right. So predominantly,
I mean, wouldn't be too bad if there was a little on that McDonald's hamburger that Trump was eating as well.
The tank cars that are used in transportation are owned. Most of them are owned by private entities.
Okay, so I guess one thing that I'm reminded of now is that the people of East Palestine, like what choices do they really have? In terms of politics, I honestly don't know if it's going to matter to them. If it is a Republican stronghold, like what can they do? Right? It's not as if they're going to be able to transform their politics in any significant way. So Knowing that some people from East Palestine saw my previous video about this, I do just want to say that like what they need to do is, I guess, support the workers, support the rail union, if they can, support the workers on the ground, and try their hardest to hold Norfolk Southern accountable. So this is another thing that came out of this press conference, was Pete Buttigieg literally saying, "Sorry, I lost my train of thought."
So I lost my train of thought.
And then smiling like a jackass. I don't like, what is wrong with him? Like, you shouldn't be going around East Palestine smiling and like, just because like people feel as though you've done nothing. He didn't go for, I don't think it was on purpose. If it was, that's even worse. But anyways, okay, the video's broken. What we really came to see here today, though, is this town hall from CNN. So this is actually great. I saw a little bit of it. I haven't seen the full thing, but the residents of East Palestine had a town hall to confront the CEO of Norfolk Southern. So this is really what we're all here for. He should have paused per train and done like jazz hands. Yeah, basically. Dude loves the attention. He probably has that warm fuzzy feeling, probably not malicious intent. I know, but like it's literally his job to like to be accountable for a situation like this, and reassure the people of East Palestine that like the proper steps are going to be taken. And I don't think Pete Buttigieg inspires a lot of confidence, you know? Like, he should have been there right away. He should have been there right away figuring out what's going on, not showing up like 2 weeks late. I think even more than that. Like, it's been like 3 weeks. And then just like kind of like grandstanding around and giving all these like platitudes and trying to tell people it's going to be okay. People don't believe Pete Buttigieg. And it's really unfortunate, especially when the former president has just shown up. Like, you know, like it's a pretty stark contrast between the president and the transportation secretary or whatever it is in the US.
Giannis is also here.
You know, meanwhile President Biden is in Europe and is nowhere to be found. So.
Jenna Giannis is also here and has a question for you.
Hi, I have a two-part question. So the first part of my question is if you could walk us through that decision of not digging up the soil and just rebuilding the train tracks over it. And second, it's been roughly 3 weeks. What new safety measures do you have in place since then, regardless of the investigation that's going on? Clearly, there are some things that need to change. And if you haven't come up with them yet, when can we expect to hear from them? Because this isn't the first. This won't be the last. People need to see change in a big way. And yeah, those are my questions.
Yes, ma'am. We believe that we had an environmentally sound remediation plan for the soil under the tracks. However, as I noted, as I continue to engage with members of East Palestine.
Okay, the way he's talking makes me think we're going to have to listen to this a little faster.
And one-on-one meetings and small.
That into the ground, and you don't take that out of the ground before you put your tracks on and you run your train on it.
You need to hire some new
That's an okay
experts.
Decision.
Oh man, he's getting grilled. I thought this was going to be a bit of a slower start to this video. But I guess the entire town hall is probably like an hour. This video here is only like 11 minutes.
Oil.
Ma'am.
The oil is going to cause us the long-term effects. Everybody's talking about the chemicals, and while I do think that's important, it's the oil that's seeping into our ground that you chose not to dig up and just put your tracks right over top of it. She's asking you specifically, what led you to that decision?
Okay, so what I'm taking away here is that obviously the track where the explosion happened was not very safe. It's not like they could run a train over that, just like behind that cleanup. It sounds like they just have replaced the track because, you know, what's more important than protecting the people of East Palestine is making sure that the supply trains are running so people at Norfolk Southern can continue to make money.
Ma'am, we've made a lot of progress on environmental remediation. We've dug up 4,600 cubic yards of soil and collected 1.7 million gallons of water. We will continue with environmental remediation. And in early March, we will start by tearing up the tracks and digging up the soil underneath the tracks.
Yeah, to keep the money trains rolling. And then here he's saying he's going to dig up the soil underneath the tracks. How? How are you going to do that now that the tracks are already laid and like trains are running over the tracks? Sounds like another accident waiting to happen.
For 6 weeks, oil's going to be soaking into our soil.
So
yeah, they've collected the water. They've somehow collected the water and it has been collected.
until then, we'll just have it keep going down.
Keep going in our soils.
Jenna, did you get all your questions answered?
No, I did specifically ask what changes you've already made, and I think these residents also are very valid in asking, like, why the delay? Why can't we do it tomorrow?
Yeah, that's a great question. He's saying he's going to do it. Well, then why haven't you already done it? Why aren't you doing it right now?
Yeah, Janice, thank you for that. I did get
It's
I
Jenna.
did get the
Just-
response to that.
it's Jenna.
Yeah,
Oh, damn. He's like, thank you, Janice. And then whatever, the guy from CNN is just like, yo, it's
We're gonna-
Jenna.
oh, my apologies. We're gonna test and we're gonna calibrate
It's almost like he doesn't see these people as human beings.
all of the wayside detectors all across our system. That's something that we stood up in the immediate aftermath of this.
And is that something that's visible for people to see? Is it publicly available for us to see that that's being done?
It's an internal component to Norfolk Southern.
Don't you think people
we're
would
gonna
want to
do
see
it.
that happening?
So he's like, no. He's like, hey, we're doing this thing. And it's like, well, can we see it? And he's like, no. It's an internal component to Norfolk Southern.
Wouldn't that show that you're trying to do something different if you're actively showing people this?
We can certainly take videos of that and post it.
It
What
didn't
we
cross
have,
We can post it. Follow us on Instagram for updates. Oh my God. Is this guy serious? Yeah, you can hear in his voice that he knows. Yeah, he knows that he's getting roasted hard.
done is
that
we
would be
stood
a
up a
positive thing.
website.
But he's like probably like a millionaire, billionaire. He's like an elite, like it doesn't matter to him.
What we have done, based on feedback that we've gotten from the citizens, is we stood up a website, nsmakingitright.com, and we're providing updates every day.
Oh my God. nsmakingitright.com. Can we take a moment here? nsmakingitright.com. Oh my God. This is their answer. It's like, yo, follow us on our website for more. Making it right in East Palestine. Air quality, safe. Water quality, safe. Family assistance center, safe. It's like incident site cleanup ongoing. Okay, but how are you making it right? They probably spent more money making this website than they have spent like making it right for the people of East Palestine. So really, really stupid optics on them here. It's like, don't worry, we have a website.
On the environmental remediation, we're providing updates every day.
Is that Webflow? It's hard to say. Why do you ask, Crude Cafe? Does it matter? Does it matter which service that they've used here? Personally, I guess I use Webflow, but they're not sponsoring the stream. Some people are saying Squarespace would have done it the cheapest way possible too. Yeah, probably. The website goes hard, says Matt. Perfect. Yeah, I guess so. Whatever. It's like, I'm going to do some stuff now. All right. Thank you so much, Imperial News. You don't want to watch the rest of this guy getting completely owned by the people of East Palestine?
On the financial assistance for the community.
Mr. Shaw, one of the questions that Jenna asked that you didn't answer had to do with the fact that obviously whatever Norfolk Southern was
That's fair. That's fair. Do what you got to do.
doing almost 3 weeks ago wasn't sufficient in terms of safety. And her question was basically, you don't need to wait for the federal government or Governor DeWine to tell you to improve things. For example, if it's true, as Senator J.D. Vance notes, having 2 staffers and a trainee on a 150-car train would not seem sufficient in the view of Republican Governor Vance. So her question is, Senator Vance, her question is, what are you asking your team to do now to change it before the government makes you change it? Because you are in charge of the company, you can make those changes. And yes, if you spend $1 billion on safety, that's great.
He looks real sweaty.
Of course, your profits are in the multi-billion dollars every year.
Yeah, we're also advancing technology on our locomotives to inspect the tracks as our trains run over the tracks. We're looking for the results from the NTSB investigation to find the root cause of this, which is one of the reasons that we're cooperating fully with the NTSB and the FRA. We'll learn.
It's so crazy that he thinks that's an acceptable answer. Like, we're investing in technology to improve our company. That's a horrible answer. How are you investing in the people?
For this. What we had in place didn't work here. We're going to figure this out, and we're going to make the investments to make Norfolk Southern safer.
I want to bring in Jim Stewart, who has a question for you, sir.
Yeah, a lot of this that I have to ask has been answered already. But I'm speaking on the aspect that the people of East Palestine, are just being treated like dummies. We're not dummies. We're smart people. But listen to these people, what they have found out about different things and everything else. I'm angry. I'm angry about this. I've lived in East Palestine for 65 years now. That's my home. My grandmother came from Germany. She lived in Palestine. My dad grew up there. My family's grown up there now. And it is disgusting that we're just lost it. I live in a house that's probably the closest of any of these, and it's a shame. And this is probably the next closest one. And our house is, it's been inspected, it's been this, it's been that. I'm afraid to put my dog out just to pee. I mean, he's only on this tall. So, I don't feel safe in this town now. You took it away from me. You took us away from this. You seem like a sincere man. I'm not calling you names. I'm not, your company stinks.
He should. He should call this man names. He deserves it.
Because they're not watching what's going on. Workers don't pay attention nowadays. Supervisors make workers work. You got to do something about this. I lost a lot. I lost the value of my home. I'm only one block. I can throw a stone to that burner. And
oh, man.
What do we do now? I come back from Chicago 4 days. I was in Chicago for 4 days. I came home the other day. I put the garage door up. We pulled in the garage, got out of the car, put the garage down. As soon as we got out of that car, the smell came back to us. Right away, instant headache. I'm 65 years old, a diabetic, AFib heart disease, everything. Now, did you shorten my life now? I want to retire and enjoy it. How are we going to enjoy it? You burned me. We were going to sell our house. Our value went poof. Do I mow the grass? Can I plant tomatoes next summer? What can I do? I'm afraid to. And it's in the air. Every day I cough. A little cough here, a little cough there. I've never had that. I got rashes on my cheeks and all my arms from the derailment. I don't call it a derailment. I call it a disaster. It's Norfolk's disaster, not a train derailment. I'm an honest. I shoot from the hip, just like the governor just told us. I tell you the truth. You seem like a family man, a great guy and all, but you know what? Like I said, your company has to do something.
How are you going to make it up to him, Mr. Shaw? How are you going to make it up to?
Yeah, this guy's in a rough spot. Imagine that, though. Like, a lot of people's retirement plan is to sell their house so that they can retire, And yeah, he has a great point. Like, imagine who's going to buy a house in East Palestine right now?
Jim Stewart and all the other families.
Jim, thank you for those comments.
Oh my God. I don't even want to listen to what this guy's about to say. It's going to be completely full of shit.
I hear you. I'm terribly sorry.
Oh my God. First thing, of course, I hear you. Like, okay, but we need you to do more than hear. You need to listen, first of all, and you need to act.
That this has happened to this community. What I can do and what I will do is make it right. We're going to get the cleanup right. We're going to reimburse the citizens. We're going to invest in the long-term health of this community. I'm going to see this through, and we're going to be here. And we're going to work with these community leaders to help it thrive. I think you heard the mayor talk about,
Like, this guy's the same as me, doesn't believe a damn word this man's saying.
Making this community even better. And that's what I'm picking up as I'm talking to community leaders and citizens.
To build back better. We're going to make sure the value of your home skyrockets.
We're looking for ideas from the community on where we can help and things that we can do.
Well, would you be
That's-
willing to
That's
buy
why
their
we have
houses?
somebody.
Will you buy them out of their houses at the property value so Jim can retire? That's making it right? Step up.
We're going to
get him.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I interrupted.
You're good.
Jim wants to hear your answer.
We're going to do what's right for this community.
Well, that's
my
what's right.
commitment.
But did your derailment, did it change me now? It's changed. It's made me an angry man. I'm a Christian. I love the Lord. But you've made me angry. And I don't want to be like that. I want you to respect me like I respect you right now. And like I said, I lost everything now. I worked hard. I'm still working. I'm my 44th year at my job. I want to get out. Now I'm just stuck.
Man, that's hard. I really feel for that. That man, really everyone in East Palestine. You know, that old man, he just wants to retire and grow some tomatoes. He doesn't even know if he can mow his own lawn. And of course, I mean, kudos to that woman, Jenna, not Janice, you know, for saying like, hey, you know what's going to make it right? If you kind of put your money where your mouth is, you know, are you going to buy his home so he can retire? Are you going to pay essentially the people of East Palestine what they're owed as a result of this disaster, which at the end of the day is your damn fault? So, really, really feeling for the people of East Palestine. I hope that Norfolk Southern especially can be held responsible. And, you know, there is an opportunity here to make an example for the entire United States, to stand in solidarity with the workers, the rail workers, and the people of East Palestine.